Hey everybody. Today I've got the the Eight of Swords as the obstacle and the Queen of Cups as the opportunity. So just to sort of go over what I wrote earlier, when referring to this card, I said this is a state of paralysis brought on by having too many interpretations or opinions on a topic, possibly a deadlock between two people debating. The obstacle here lies in the refusal to acknowledge, or the inability to acknowledge, that to free yourself from the situation, you need to admit that there are things, possibly a great many things, that you do not know. One of the things that I want to clarify is the deadlock between two people debating. I would describe that as, you not being one of the people involved in the debate. I think the paralysis would be in terms of the individual dealing with this situation. It's like when you're in a room with two people that are having a debate, or if you're following the news and politics, or if there's an argument at work or something like that. It's like when you're interacting with, in some way, observing these two people, and you're looking to them. You're waiting for one of them to win, so you can kind of make up your mind about this issue. This is probably a debate or an argument or a conversation that's dealing with things that might be at least a little bit beyond your realm of understanding or talent. So this is a situation where you're really looking for answers. And yet the two experts, let's say in the situation of, this involving two people, they're just going back and forth. It doesn't really seem like there's a clear winner. I feel like this used to be more of a phenomenon in politics than it was in science, because, in the hard sciences, you would have people just acknowledge, like, this is the better way of doing things. Now the term science, often when people, evoke follow the science or whatever, now often so much of the science involves social science, which can be highly theoretical. And even if the people involved don't directly engage in, sabotage, p hacking, things like that, it's just it's pretty hard to find an empirical application of social sciences to a controlled environment without getting too nerdy there. But I guess this is the place for it. Nerdy tarot. But yeah, so authority figures being deadlocked, and then you yourself experiencing this, and then feeling this sort of paralysis where it's like, okay, well, I don't know where I stand. And it could also be, in the more direct sense, just an experience of within your own mind, realizing that you're at a place where what you're looking at in terms of your thoughts is you've got a bunch of great arguments and points for an issue, and then you also are aware of a bunch of things against, and same thing, paralysis ensues. Now I think that the answer to this is acknowledging that what you're dealing with isn't the full set. Now this could be a pretty annoying or disturbing realization to adopt, because how many more times is this going to happen, right? Like, how skeptical do you have to be of your own beliefs? Like, what's the, if the point of that kind of internally directed skepticism, acknowledging, well, I probably don't know all the facts yet, if that's something that's going to guide you to be able to make a decision, then is that decision just going to be another paralyzing scenario? And so I think often it could feel safer, or it could just, almost out of laziness, it could seem easier not to acknowledge that there are things that you don't know. Also, when dealing with experts, it's like we look to experts to be able to provide us, endow us with at least some knowledge that, gives us the ideally gives us the confidence to go out into the world and feel like the kind of predictions we're making are reasonable predictions. We're all scientists in some sense. It's just generally we're pretty intuitive with the kind of model of the world that we build, which is based off of our direct experiences. Usually we always augment that with the kind of scientific truth that is reported to us by others. And we take it on as faith, essentially. And the reason we take it on as faith is because it comes from these authoritative sources. So it could be pretty sabotaging to that whole structure of ideas and truths and beliefs and faiths to have to kind of focus on the fact that even the smartest people, even they still don't know everything, and there are a lot of new possibilities, new ideas. I mean, if you question how fully someone knows a topic, it just kind of leads to questioning, well, are they just missing 1% of the truth, or are they missing 99%? How do we know if we're just going to presume that there's always something new? And I think in part this is solved by just reflecting on the fact that the environment always changes, and that we're always trying to catch up with the environment in terms of our scientific outlook. So it's there is kind of a paradoxical perpetuity to knowing everything that can be known at any particular point in time. There is a limit, and you could come to a point where you could confidently sort of think to yourself or feel like we know everything there is to know about this thing. And that statement presupposes that there will always be these little parts that you can't know, but there is a point at which you can have great confidence, right? Nonetheless, this is a scenario where it's that situation of deadlock and all of the negative consequences from experiencing this situation, from interacting with it. And yet, I think it's not only acknowledging that you don't know things and going to look for them or whatever, but looking for the next card in the series. The next card is the Knight of Swords. It's that archetype that is out there, just cutting things up, doing new science, doing weird fringe explorations. Also poetry in a weird way, because we're dealing with words. So it's people interacting with words, using words in a new way, making new abstractions, creating new definitions for words. The thing that we could look for as a response to encountering this situation is to look for those individuals, look for those archetypes that are out there crafting new interpretations of things. And in a lot of ways, I think that this is a pretty good way to understand or to explain how much movements like deconstructivist movements, postmodern movements have been being embraced in politics. I think those kinds of ideas have been embraced for a long, long time in poetry, in creative endeavors, right? I think seeing them now present themselves in the political sphere or the pseudo-scientific, social scientific, I think just kind of reflects on how much has been built up, discovered, and established in those areas. How much equilibrium or deadlock there possibly is in those areas that, people are embracing new ways of looking at things. And then as far as the opportunity, we got the Queen of Cups. For this, I wrote, the opportunity here is in seeking out and interacting with a person known for having their emotions in check. Because of their ability to keep secrets safe, these people are often entrusted with personal confessions. While it is foolish to try and get them to share the gossip, it is a good idea to ask them for general guidance in the realm of emotions and relationships. Um, Keeping secrets safe, I don't think, is the only characteristic of this individual. I think in general, just being good at uh, managing feelings, and this involves your individual feelings, or when related to this archetype, this archetype is good at keeping their own feelings, you know, encased, managed, as well as the shared feelings of others. And so I think, yeah, I think the only mistake here is, it's like, let's say you're going through a breakup, uh, and let's say you have a friend that is mutually your friend, and they're also friends with your now ex. It could be really tempting to go to that mutual friend and try and get them to divulge, what's my ex thinking, what are they saying, what are they, you know, if this mutual friend is this kind of archetype, that's not going to work. But if they are that kind of archetype, the thing that is going to be of great service is you approaching them, seeking advice, telling them your feelings. This is the kind of person who, this archetype can be trusted with your personal confessions, and it, and the advice that they're going to give you is going to be, it's coming from the kind of wisdom that they've accrued over the years from having so many different people open themselves up to them. So they're not gonna, they're not the person to tell you, oh, so and so told me this is how they feel. But because they've heard so many stories from so many people, they're kind of like experts when it comes to what kind of experiences people have had, how those experiences have affected them emotionally, what kind of relationships people have had, what kind of changes relationships go through. So if this person tells you, listen, what you're going through right now is totally normal, like, they're not just saying that because they think it's the right thing to say. They're saying this because this is them essentially reporting on all of these different experiences they've had, being entrusted with people's feelings, private lives, people's confessions, and yeah, and unfortunately, it's just a bad idea to try and get any direct answers, to get any. This is the kind of person that you can't really ask for evidence. If they tell you do this, it's gonna make you feel better. You can't really pry them for proof, because they're not the kind of person who's going to say, listen, Jeff was in a similar situation and it worked for him. Mary was in a similar situation and worked for her, because they're going to need to keep, they're the kind of person who's going to keep that information secret. So it's kind of like an authority figure, that you just need to put your faith in. Imagine like asking a priest from a religion that has a well-established ritual of confession, right? Like, that priest is not going to tell you about any of those confessions, but nonetheless, they have a pretty good idea of how things are functioning in that community. I actually think that priests and confession have this. There's this interesting analogy, I think, between what priests used to do and what Twitter and social media does now. Like, they were this aggregator of experiences, and then they would sort of, as the carriers of all this information, they would kind of, priests, I think, would create this subconsciously informed, how can I put it? They would be priests, or any kind of person entrusted with, all the secrets of all the people. I don't think consciously any person is able to calculate all the different interactions that people might have and try and plan for like what the what the best piece of advice to give during a sermon. Like if 10 people all approach you privately and tell you their secrets, and then you're going to address all 10 of them collectively, it's like, I think consciously it's impossible to figure out the ideal thing to say so that all of their interactions that you are now probably consciously overwhelmed with will work out fine. But I think that really good priests, let's say, or people who fill this role, shamans, whatever, in a really good way, they were just entrusting their subconscious. You know, they could address the group with a kind of direction that would work out favorably for, you know, maybe not every individual, but at least the well-being of the collective, of the group. I think social media, in a weird kind of perverted way, it, you know, serves a similar function. It's like all these people are voluntarily confessing all these opinions and ideas, and then some of them rise to the top, and those create those become like the trends that people then respect with that kind of authority that often those religious figures are endowed or entrusted with. But yeah, so I think that the opportunity here is in, you know, seeking out this person. Maybe the opportunity could be you could meet this person. You know, the opportunity could be you could find them if you seek them out. The opportunity could be maybe, you know, you already know this person and you've just never really realized that they actually, you know, really fit the description well of this archetype. You never really thought maybe you thought, oh, this person never gossips at all. They never fucking say shit, you know? You never thought of them as maybe being the ideal person to open up to about. Yeah, and I think it could also, and I think also the opportunity could lie in the act of trusting this individual, you know, opening yourself up to this, and but it's got to be, you know, it's got to be someone who's close to this kind of, you know, who's in this archetypal direction, because there's plenty of people that you could open yourself up to and then they will gossip, right? So who's got that reputation for not gossiping, who has their emotions in check. Often the reason they are so balanced is, again, because they have so much experience with other people's experiences of relationships, feelings. Yeah, anything else? I feel like I had something else to add to this. Oh yeah, it could be something along the lines of like a psychiatrist also, you know. So the opportunity could be in like opening up yourself, you know, fighting off maybe some resistance you had to like entrusting someone. And if, whatever, I'm not the kind of person who thinks that, you know, psychiatric help is necessary. I think that there's plenty of opportunities to find those kind of confidants in life. But if you don't have anyone like that you could talk to, I think it's certainly better to have someone you could just openly speak to, as opposed to not having anyone, right? So the opportunity again could lie in the realization or acceptance of, you know, the truth of that statement. I think I'm gonna wrap things up there. Thanks for watching. Drop me a like if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to comment tarot reading, #tarot reading, if you would like to be entered into a draw for a free one-on-one reading. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow.